Hello, everyone, and welcome to this is Blinds in the Box. Meet the founder, and I've got Janice with us. Hello, Janice. How are you?
Hi, Shaun. I'm really good, thanks. How are
Yeah,
you?
I'm good, thanks. And I think this is going to be a really brilliant podcast, just to find out more about Janice, about her appearing on Dragon's Den, working with some of the top names from Dragon's Den, and finding out more about Blinds in the Box. So, Janice, what did you do before? You co-founded Blinds in the Box. What was your professional background before?
Well, I left school before I was 16. I don't think back in the day, now you can't do that, but I
No.
did. I really wasn't that great at school. Did lots of jobs from cleaning toilets, working in kitchens, working in cafes, loads of things for years and years, and thought I better try and do something. I somehow managed to get a job. There was a magazine called The Lady Magazine, and it gave me an opportunity to go and work with children with disabilities in a residential school. It also gave you accommodation. So I applied, got the job. It was in Bexhill-on-Sea. So I left London because I grew up in London and went there to work as a teaching assistant in this school for children with disabilities.
Yeah.
Ended up staying there 2 years, which I loved the whole experience of it. Came back to London, had to find more work and bummed around quite a bit for a couple of more years. And I eventually was working on a play scheme, an integrated play scheme for children with disabilities and able-bodied children. And then back to the normal boring jobs. And I used to work in this cafe in the city for black cab drivers. So I had to
Right.
be up at like 4:30, get into the city to serve their breakfast and everything. And I clearly remember on my birthday, I thought, this is really rubbish. I'm not doing this anymore. And walked out because I thought, I'm not working on my birthday anymore. And actually haven't worked on my birthday since that day. I don't know why, but I decided that was a good idea. And then I thought I needed to do something. So saved every penny I could, had no idea about education. I just knew I needed what was then A levels to get into university. None of my family had ever been. So I saved for a year and then did a year's course to do A levels in sociology, economics, and human biology.
Right.
No idea why. They just
Yeah.
happened to be on the course. It was at Waltham Forest College. Did that for a year and thought, had no idea how to go to university. So I just wrote a letter to Lancaster Uni. And I think in my letter, it was naivety that I just said, I'm doing these A levels. I'd like to come to university. How do I go about it? They called me for an interview and they said, if you get 2 of your A levels, you've got a place. So
Okay.
I'm sure that wouldn't happen today. This was a few years ago, but it was just through naivety and desperation of trying to do something.
Yeah.
So I ended up going to Lancaster University to study applied social sciences. Had no idea, but it all sounded good. So I feel like when I was thinking about the podcast questions that I just seem to go along with it and think I can do that. Oh yeah, I can do that. Oh yeah, I can do that. So I there loved it. 3 years of, to me, it was like a holiday camp. No
Yeah.
responsibility. You got paid back in the day. I got a grant to go and study. It was amazing. And I could work on the play scheme in the holiday time. So I had money coming in on that as well every time I came back to London for holidays. So finished my degree and thought, what do I do next? And I thought, well, I didn't think about anything, but it sort of led me to think doing social work.
Yeah.
So I thought, back in the day, all this equal opportunity wasn't so good. And I thought, as a black woman, I need to have the best qualification. So I then decided to do a postgraduate in psychiatry. So I went from Lancaster onto Manchester Medical School and did a postgraduate diploma in psychiatry, along with a CQSW, a Certificate of Qualification in Social Work. So I left as a qualified psychiatric social worker and
Right.
ended up getting a job with the local authority and doing all sorts of social work. Back in the day, there was generic social work, there was mental health social work, there was elderly social work, but you did everything as a social worker back in that time. And I ended up specializing in mental health and doing a lot of that, and was in social work for about 20 years.
Right.
So in a way, I sort of fell into it. I never grew up thinking, oh, I'm going to be a social worker. That's my vocation, my calling. But I loved it, loved the people, the families, the individuals I met. I mean, how people are so resilient to things. It was amazing. And then I was in my mid 40s and thought I'd always loved design. I only left school with arts O level, which is now a
Yeah.
GCSE. And I thought, I've always loved design, that why aren't I doing design? So I think my midlife crisis was leaving my profession. I was also lecturing at Barnet College. I don't know how. It was another one of those, oh, I can do that. So I lectured
Yeah.
A-level economics for a couple of years. I know. I was writing it out thinking, this is a bit bizarre. But I decided I wanted to do design stroke architecture, realised in my 40s that was too long a slog to do architecture. So I found a course at Westminster College, and it
Yep.
was for professionals changing career. So I went there and did a 2-year course in a year because I thought I haven't got time for this.
Yep.
My normal attitude, get it done. So I did the first year in the normal day thing, and I did the second year weekends and evening classes. So I did first and second year in the year so I could qualify. And then I thought, well, that's it then. I'm an interior designer. And I thought, so how do I get out there? There wasn't the social media that we have now. There wasn't all the Instagram and everything. And I thought, well, I have to have a face. So I managed to find a shop near where I lived, a little shop, and opened it up and just rang companies like fabric companies and asked them if I could have their fabric books. And I designed
Yeah.
the whole shop and put books in and little artifacts and household things that people could buy. So I opened the shop to be my face, really, and hopefully people would come in, which thankfully they did. And that's how my interior design business started. So I had the little shop for about 7 years and had got established in my area in northwest London. And then I could give it up and not have the shop anymore. So I sold the shop onto another designer and it
Yeah.
continued. But while I was in the shop, one of the business partners, who has since retired, was one of my clients. They came in the shop. I did a new build chalet bungalow with her builder, myself, from scratch, from the foundations up. And when all the bricks and mortars and the builders had gone, she was left in a bungalow, chalet bungalow, like a fishbowl. So
Yeah.
you could see straight through the whole property from the ground floor because it was a chalet bungalow. And that really was how the whole idea of Blinds in a Box became to
Yeah.
be a real thing.
It's
And
it's
we joined as partners to try and start the business.
it's interesting the story that you've just said, Janice, because I think it just shows one that I think many of us as business owners don't actually leave school going, I want to run a business. um, we just
Yeah,
happen to
yeah,
fall into it, or things happen to do us. And it also shows that, you know, the resilience that you've had throughout your career, from leaving school with, like you say, just art, to
yeah,
then progressing. And it's very similar in my own journey, that, you know, I left school with no really qualifications to shout about. I went to veterinary college,
Oh, wow.
and then decided that digital marketing was my world. And again, at the 40 mark, I decided to do my qualifications in digital marketing, so my degree in digital marketing. So you talk about your original partner when Blinds in the Box was identified. Was that the moment that sparked the idea of having those windows with nothing
Oh,
up?
definitely. I mean, we toyed with it, and she was desperate because we obviously had curtain makers doing stuff and getting it all prepared, but it was going to be, I mean, she chose fabric that was coming in from India, a lovely silk fabric, but all in all, for completion of her window coverings would have been 5 months.
Yeah,
So that really was the driving force behind what can we do. You can't live with everyone looking through your windows every single day and night, and that's really how it started between us. So we thought that was the solution. We needed something easy, something that wouldn't damage her new build and the frames and everything. And that was it, a very simple solution.
yeah.
Like we've all done those paper pleated fans sat in school in class being bored, or maybe you and I have, maybe some
Yeah,
other children haven't. But basically it's that with the adhesive strip on the top.
yeah. And I think,
So
I've seen, obviously, got the products, used the product, and it is, as you say, a very simple product, but solves a lot of problems.
yeah.
We're not just talking, new builds,
No,
renters that can't screw into walls, so they can't put permanent blinds up. But
basically we saw it as anywhere that has a window at some point in its life could use blinds in a box,
yeah,
because I mean, even if you don't want to spend a lot of money on your curtains or blinds, you can put those up. If you don't have blackout and you just have normal curtains or blinds, you can put those behind your curtains to give you blackout. If you're moving, if you're decorating and take your current windows down, I mean, it's anywhere. If you've got
yeah,
internal offices and you want to be screened from the next office, you can use them internally. So we think of it, or I definitely think of it, of any window in the country at some point could use blinds in a box.
yeah. So you appeared on BBC Dragon's Den. Um,
Yeah.
um, how did that come about?
Um, well, when we first started, we had a lot of publicity, like free write ups in homes magazines and anything to do with interiors. There was a lot of interest from the press, and they would give us free little publications and write little articles on us. And somebody in Manchester, BBC, happened to have read the article, and they contacted me in the shop and said,
Yeah,
we're really interested in this product. We think it's great. She particularly liked it. And she was somehow attached to Dragon's Den. And she invited us to go on the programme.
right.
And I thought, someone's messing with me. One of my friends up north, they're just having a go. So it sort of was a bit of a ruse, I thought, to begin with. But then obviously it wasn't. And Dominic was involved as a partner with us then,
Yeah,
and we all agreed to do it, if not just for publicity. I
yeah,
mean, we didn't intend to go for investment. We were up and running. We had our own money. We were doing okay and it was ticking along. But we thought, well, if we do that, we've got great national TV advertising, so we couldn't say no.
yeah. And
So,
I think you find as well, don't you? You don't even have to get investment on Dragon. It is, as you say, the exposure.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I wonder, what was it like walking out of that famous lift into the den?
Well, when we did it, it was a while ago, we had steps to go up.
Oh yes, yeah, of
So
course.
that was, it was quite nerve-wracking. And I mean, I feel like when I look back on the show, I look like a rabbit in the headlights. I'm sort of rigid, terrified, looking like that, speaking like a robot. So, but we were in front of the dragons for over an hour. So
Right.
as you start talking about your product and you're engaging with him, you relax. And we were just, it was fine. I
Yeah.
mean, at first we were all terrified, basically. And I don't know if that's because it's going on TV or because once you're there, you're desperate for them to invest in you.
Yeah.
Because you've gone that far, you just think, well, I'm here now. It's not just about the advertising. We want them to appreciate the product and invest. So I think all those things kick in and your adrenaline's going and having to talk about it. But looking back, I mean, it was the best thing we did, really.
Yeah. And I think it is such an iconic TV program.
Yeah.
And to say that you've appeared on it, it is amazing. So, for those who haven't seen it, you can obviously watch the episode go on blindsinthebox.co.uk. You can watch the video there.
Yeah.
Um,
I think
but
it's still on YouTube.
it
It was
is,
a
yeah.
while
So it's
ago.
still on. Yes, it's still on there. If you
Yeah.
want to look back, it is. It's an interesting. I obviously work with Janice and Dom, and I love working with them, and yeah, just to say that you've been on Dragons Den is an amazing achievement. So yes, you got investment. You got Duncan Bannatyne and James Kahn.
Yeah.
Tell us about your experiences of working with these two, and what did they do to contribute to the company's growth?
For me, I mean, I thought it was incredible and amazing that we actually got the opportunity. I think their business acumen was so good that you just wouldn't, I mean, they'd say things that were quite simple and you'd think, oh, yeah, why didn't I think of that? I can't even think of an example, but just in
Yeah.
the business world, they were so in tune with how to approach things and what to do and how to run things that if you've never been in it and you haven't grown up in it, you're a bit naive to all of those
Mm.
things. But once you're told or explained, you just realize, oh, yeah, of course, that makes sense. But Duncan was more hands on. Like he did, we did some shopping channels like a QVC
Yeah.
thing, and he would be like Duncan on the couch on the shopping channel. So he would come and go to the studio with me and do the selling of the blinds with obviously one of their presenters.
Yeah.
So he was very hands on with it and very good like that. Um, but most of all, they just launched us to another level. I mean, once it was on the TV, once we had their backing and support, we were just at another level. I mean, and literally overnight, our sales went through the roof.
Yeah. And
So,
it's
yeah,
yeah, it like you say, to have those two people involved, yeah, they've I suppose their advice and everything is
it
undealt.
was invaluable. I mean, obviously, it was years ago, and we've since bought them out, so
Yeah.
we've got the company back as ours. But it definitely did take it to another level, and all three of us, like the directors of the company, it was the best thing to do at the
Yeah.
time. None of us regret going with them or being on the TV.
Yeah. So if anyone wants to check out Blinds in the Box, head over to the website, www.blindsinthebox.co.uk, and you'll see the two blinds, the two blinds that they've got on there, the white ones and the blackout blinds. And I think for me, as a parent, obviously my children are grown up, so sure yours, Janice. But I think for me, the blackout blind, for me, offers that safety that traditional blinds with the cords and you've got all those worries. And I know
Yeah.
it just is a simple design to be able to put into your child's bedroom, and it solves the problem. And we talk about temporary blinds, but they don't have to be temporary, do they?
No, I mean, I've had them up on my kitchen door for nearly 2 years. So we have to say they're temporary because they're obviously paper, but
Yeah.
we've had feedback from customers that they've had them for years and then they just, if they get a little bit tatty, they replace them, but often they last for years and people don't they think, why bother? They look nice. They look nice from the outside. So they just leave them up, basically.
And I think that's the point. It's high quality paper, and from the outside, you wouldn't even know.
No.
And if you look at some of our pictures on social media and our website, you wouldn't even know that they're paper blinds until you get right up close to them.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, they're very smart, and they just do the job. And like you say, the blackout blinds are great for bedrooms, for night workers,
Yeah,
for anybody that wants to have a blackout room,
yeah,
basically. And the white ones do the same. They give you that privacy and make you feel a bit more cozy. If it's like a black all outside, you can just put them down, and yeah, they're just so easy.
yeah. And I think it tackles the issues all year round. So in the summer, you've got the issues of you want to. I know it's terrible, but you want to stop the sun coming in.
Yeah.
And as we now move into winter, it also solves the problems of safety and security.
Exactly. When we have our lights on, because it's getting dark, people can see straight in. They're just so good at just stick them on, peel them off, and
Yeah.
that's the job done.
So I think what it does, it solves the problem all year round. I think typically, and this is one thing I was going to ask you is what sets you apart from other window covering solutions. I think one of them is that it solves an issue all year round, rather than just the summer.
Yeah, and they're quick, they're easy to install. People don't need tools to fix them. You literally can mark off your width with your fingernail and just cut through with a Stanley knife or a bread knife, sharp knife. There are no strings attached. You literally peel off the adhesive strip covering and stick them up at your window.
Yeah.
And they're affordable. I mean, I think that's crucial, that they're cost effective. They're a cost effective, simple solution to cover your windows, basically,
Yeah.
especially in this economy. Like, blinds and curtains are so expensive these days, and shutters, which are now quite the range, but you have to wait months for your shutters, and these you can put up, job done.
Yeah. And obviously, the shipping is really great. Next day delivery.
Yeah.
So again, you're not waiting weeks for delivery. They're shipped directly from the UK.
Yeah.
So that's another great point. So I guess that when you came up with the idea, I assume that you had a lot of looking for materials, ensuring the right product quality. How was that?
That was our challenge. I remember researching for a year and a half, when I was working just with Simeon. And then fortunately, we got introduced to Dominic. We were really trying to make it a UK produced product. So we went to all the paper manufacturers, whoever we could find, searched them, Googled them. Nobody had the machinery to do the pleating and the adhesive. And when we were introduced to Dominic, he was already dealing in the Far East. So that's where we ended up having to go to the Far East. And even when the Dragons were involved, they were even looking at building a machine to make it a UK product, but it became so expensive that it would just make the blinds unaffordable. And our whole purpose was to make it a really affordable, easy product. So our manufacturing is in the Far East.
Yeah.
And Dominic really does that side of the company, the manufacturing, everything. But for quality control and everything, they're so good. We had all our samples beforehand, lots of testing, different sampling. We did think about different colours, but that became too expensive and it would never be the right colour for every household.
Yeah.
So we thought, keep it simple, keep the white ones for privacy, the black ones for blackout, and there was no issue. And we found that to be the case. So, but all our quality control stuff, we're in constant in communication with the Far East about any issues, of which fortunately we really haven't had any. And we're advancing to be more eco-friendly. We've moved to metal clips so we can get rid of all our plastic. We no longer do the plastic just because we were more conscious of that. Having those plastic pegs, they're now metal clips. So we're very much trying to keep ahead of the times and keep our eco-friendliness going.
Yeah, and I suppose again that's a great point to touch on, Janice. Is the eco side of it? It's obviously paper.
Yeah,
So if you decided that you've ordered your curtains or your permanent blinds, that they can be recycled
yeah, exactly.
as any other normal
Yeah,
paper product.
yeah, yeah,
So it does fully recyclable as
yeah,
well. So I think
yeah.
that's a really key point to
And
talk
all our
about.
packaging is all like cardboard, so
Yeah,
it's all, yeah.
yeah. So I've seen a lot of the customers' reviews on the product. I know that they've been loved. And is there any memorable feedback or stories that you can think of that you'd like to share?
I couldn't pick out one memorable thing. I think it's the longevity of the blinds that customers feed back and say they've had them for so many years and how great they are and they're still working, that I think, oh my goodness, we've had a over 2 year customer feedback now. When's the
Yeah,
next one going to be? So I think it's more that, and how the other one is when people are coming to stay over, they need a quick fix solution for a bedroom, a guest bedroom, just how easy they are to install and how happy they are. I mean, that's most of our feedback. They're so easy
yeah,
to install. They did the job. They are what they say on the tin. I mean, and that's all positive stuff. So,
yeah.
yeah,
And I know that you get a lot of repeat customers as well. That you know
yeah,
so that's really good. And you talk about people coming to stay, and I suppose we're recording this in November, start of Christmas period, and
exactly.
we all know that you have Auntie Jean or whoever come and stay, and you think, oh, I've got to shove them in that back bedroom,
Yeah.
or but I've got no blinds.
Yeah, yeah. We
Um,
do get quite a few of that at holiday seasons, particularly coming up to Christmas. I think people just forget about the spare room and it's fine because there is a dumping ground. But when someone's coming to stay, they think, oh no, there's nothing at the window, or they have
yeah,
to do it. I did have an actual decorator that had an internal bedroom with a glass door. And they thought it was fantastic that they could use those to give her son privacy in the bedroom, because it
yeah,
was an internal glass door that they couldn't change. So that was people find interesting things. You just think, oh yeah, of course it could be used for that.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think you talked about how easy it is to cut to the size that you need.
exactly. You don't
Um,
need to cut the drop because we have the clips, so you
yeah,
hold them up wherever you want. And to cut the width, you just literally hold them up to the space, mark off with a fingernail, and cut through with a sharp knife
yeah,
or a
yeah,
Stanley knife, and that's it. Doesn't even
yeah.
take a minute.
And the thing is as well, if you've seen our TikTok, we have an 11-year-old
Yeah,
has put them on. So it just shows you how easy
how
it is.
simple they are. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
that
exactly.
even a child can put them up. So
Yeah.
even
I
me, who has no DIY skills,
Yeah,
managed.
you definitely don't need any. I did have an elderly client ring to say, "Oh, I'm on my own. Do you think I can manage it?" And when I explained it, they were absolutely delighted, and they said, "Well, I can do that." And they rang me back to say that they were successful and they actually did the peel and stick and just stuck them up, and they said they couldn't believe how easy that was.
Yeah. So just thinking about people who are listening who are thinking of maybe aspiring entrepreneurs um, with a product idea. What advice would you give them to bring it to market?
I would say be realistic in your ideas. I would say be your own devil's advocate, because I am, and put forward in your own self all the things that could go wrong, and then always find your solution to it yourself. I would say don't listen to all the negativity around you, because you will get a lot. Because if someone has an idea, I think it somehow makes other people without ideas or without aspirations feel a bit like, oh, why are you doing that? Don't bother. So I think it's not to get drowned by those other people that say no, because I think through life we meet lots of those people that say, don't be silly, you can't do it. I mean,
Yeah,
with Blinds in a Box, telling my friends, good friends, they thought I was ridiculous and they laughed, which they do, but you just laugh along with them and keep going. You
yeah,
just secretly in your mind say, yep, it's all fun, but I'm just going to do it and see what happens. So, and try and engage with positive minded, right minded thinking people. I
yeah,
mean, any idea is an idea until I tell my children that, until someone else thinks of it.
yeah,
And I believe the same for Blinds in a Box. If we didn't come up with it, someone else would have done eventually.
yeah.
So
Um,
I just think go for it.
yeah, I think that's really good advice, Janice. So it's been great speaking to you today. Um, and we will get the other co-founder Dom
Yeah.
on to our next episode. Currently, he is either on a plane or he's landed in Hong Kong, so
Yes.
jet
You
setting
got out of
somewhere.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but when we were talking about doing this and he saw the questions, I think he secretly
He's
wished
keen. Yeah.
he was doing it. So we will get him on, and just so you as listeners can see both the faces behind Blinds in the Box. But yeah, thank you very much, Janice,
Thank you,
for
Shaun.
joining us. And yeah, we look forward to hearing from Dom and his side of the story.
Thanks, Shaun. Have a
Thanks,
good
guys.
evening. Bye.